On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched strikes on Iran. In response, a 33-kilometer waterway closed. 105 days later, the conflict is still running. This chart shows what happened next. Brent crude oil shot from $70 a barrel to $138 at its peak. That is a 97% spike in under 60 days. Look closely at the volume of traffic driving that price. The Strait of Hormuz dropped to just 5% of its normal capacity. Instead of 100 ships passing through every day, the average plummeted to barely 4. Because 1/3 of the global fertilizer supply relies on that specific route, prices surged right at spring planting season. The geopolitical standoff thousands of miles away became an immediate physical disruption to autumn harvests, and consequently your local grocery bill. The financial pressure bled quickly into housing. Over those 105 days, U.S. 30-year fixed mortgage rates jumped from 5.98% to 6.5%, adding roughly $47,000 to the lifetime cost of an average loan. On top of that, sustaining continuous military operations requires heavy borrowing. In just 100 days, the Pentagon added an estimated $200 billion to the national debt. Negotiators have tried 6 times to stop the bleeding. 6 times those talks collapsed. The U.S. demanded unconditional surrender, while neither side could agree on the scope of Iran's nuclear program. With inflation spiking and supply chains blocked, the International Monetary Fund warned that a prolonged disruption would cut global economic growth by 1.3 percentage points. We are hovering right over a recession trigger, completely dependent on a diplomatic breakthrough. That breakthrough might finally be here. Across 3 rounds and 21 hours of secret talks, Pakistan's prime minister stepped in to broker what is now being called the Islamabad Declaration. The drafted text demands a permanent halt to the conflict on all fronts, including Lebanon. In exchange, Iran commits to never building a nuclear weapon. This map shows the most immediate relief valve for the global economy. The agreement stipulates that the Strait of Hormuz must reopen within 30 days. This makes the declaration a highly specific economic blueprint. Reopening the shipping lane point by point is the exact physical mechanism required to reverse the financial shockwave. But the text contains a major ambiguity. Iran agrees not to build a bomb, but they retain their existing stockpile of uranium, which is already enriched to 60% purity. This graphic shows the catch. The Strait of Hormuz opens in 30 days, but the actual verification mechanism and inspection protocols for that uranium are kicked 60 days down the road. The hardest questions are entirely delayed. Meanwhile, the physical reality on the water remains hostile. Last night, 2 drones were shot down, and Iranian media reported the military intercepted commercial vessels. The text is drafted, but the ink is not on the paper. Until it is, the choke point remains closed and the conflict continues. We are now facing a strict binary. The financial trajectory of the global economy for the rest of 2026 depends on which of 2 scenarios plays out this weekend. Here is the logic tree for Scenario 1, recovery. The deal holds. Shipping normalizes, driving oil back down to $80 a barrel. Inflation eases through the summer, giving central banks the room to cut interest rates by the 4th quarter. If the deal collapses, we get Scenario 2, stagflation. Oil shoots back above $120 a barrel. Economic growth stalls while prices rise, and a severe global recession arrives by the 3rd quarter. If talks fail, the U.S. president has already threatened strikes against this location, Karg Island. It handles 90% of Iran's oil exports. The margin between cheap mortgages by Christmas and devastating stagflation across the globe comes down to this single unresolved standoff. Everything's drafted. Everything's negotiated. What's missing is one final signature from Iran's supreme leader. 105 days ago, a localized strike triggered a massive disruption in global oil supplies. Now, the resolution to that crisis is sitting on a desk. Watch for that signature this weekend, because the moment that pen hits paper, the math on your household budget begins to change.